Good morning all. I'm Snehalata, Senior Research Scientist at Spoken Tutorial Project IIT Bombay. So on behalf of Spoken Tutorial and FOSSEE teams, I welcome you all to this 3-day workshop on Chem Collective Virtual Labs. So the 3-day program is all packed with many sessions and like hands-on activities, live demonstrations and talks. So today let us begin with a talk by Professor Anindya Datta. He is currently the head of the chemistry department IIT Bombay. So let me introduce you to Professor Datta. So he received his PhD degree in 1998 from IICS Kolkata and went on to do a postdoctoral fellowship at Iowa State University from 1998 to 2000. In 2002, he joined IIT Bombay as an assistant professor and he became a full professor in 2012. And he held many academic and administrative positions. He was Associate Dean Student Affairs and he was head CRNTS. And currently, he's the head of the Department of Chemistry Department. And he has received many awards. There is a long list, but I'll just tell few of them. He received CRSI Bronze Medal in 2018. And he's a fellow of National Academy of Sciences since 2018. And he's a member of advisory boards. So he's a member on editorial advisory board for Journal of Physical Chemistry. And he has guided many PhD students, 16 PhD students, and he has published many papers, around 120 papers. And his area of research is ultra-fast process in molecules and materials, ultra-fast process in spectroscopy in molecules and materials. I think that's correct. You can correct it, Professor Datta, later on. So now I invite him to talk about how he's managing the first year chemistry courses in the chemistry department during this pandemic time. And you can give some tips and suggestions for all the participants. So the participants are mostly teachers, school teachers, and few of them are teachers in college. And there are a few students also. So over to you, Professor Datta.
Thank you, ma'am, for the kind introduction. Good morning, everybody. We'll begin. I'd like to thank my friend Sneha and Professor Kannan Maudgalya for having given me the opportunity of meeting you here. So this reminds me of an incident that happened in IISc a few years ago. We were organizing the symposium and this was a new building and they had this very hi-fi, Wi-Fi based public address system. So our speaker went up, a gentleman, and he started speaking in a lady's voice. So nobody could figure out what is going on. So then we realized what happened was there is a problem of too much of advanced technology. Since the public address system, speaker system was Wi-Fi based, there are two auditoria, one on ground floor, one on first floor. The outputs got swapped. So the people in the other auditorium were equally shocked to see this lady speaking in a man's voice. It was like a ghost movie. So it took us some time to figure this out. So similarly, I think something similar happened here. Kannan is about to give a talk somewhere else. But anyway, now we have started. And this, in fact, is a good demonstration of how interesting things can happen when you're trying to teach from the comfort and safety of your own home or office, and your audience is spread all over the country or maybe even all over the world. So good morning, welcome to this session. I'm thankful to Kannan and Sneha for having given me this opportunity. And I've not really planned anything concrete to talk to you about because I think we are all on the same page. We are all teachers. And over the last 1 year or so, we have all been through this challenge of trying to figure out how to reach out to our students using a medium that we are not really conversant with even 1 year ago. And many of you are school teachers. Well, my wife is a school teacher, and the kind of innovation that she is using to teach little kids is something way beyond my league. And I can see what kind of enthusiasm, what kind of intense activity is going on among teachers to figure out ways and keeping children engaged. So perhaps it would have been better if you spoke and I learned from you. But let us do this together. So this workshop, as I understand, is all about these sort of lab courses that Kannan, Snehalata, Madhuri, and the team have worked out. And they're going to show you how you can make use of these in your classes. And to be very honest, at even 1 year ago, I did not believe in this because chemistry, the subject that I teach, is very much a hands-on subject. If you want to do chemistry practical, you have to get your fingers wet, literally and figuratively. Chemistry practical is all about smells and colors and stains, and in some cases, burnt fingers and all. You literally have to burn your fingers as well if you are to do chemistry practical. Unfortunately, you cannot do all these in the online mode. So I started off as a big non-believer. But then, when I see what they have done, I'm reminded of this Mahabharata story, which many of us would know. Remember, Dronacharya was very poor. So when his son Ashwathama was little, they did not have money to buy milk for him. So what they served instead was wheat mixed with water. And they passed it off as milk, and Ashwathama grew up on that. And usually this is used allegorically to sort of undermine that wheat dispersed in water. But let us not forget that Ashwathama grew up to be a great warrior. And for that, even that wheat in water was sufficient. Something is better than nothing. And what you have on offer, what you're going to take home from this workshop, I believe, is something that goes way beyond wheat in water. In fact, I tried out a few experiments myself. They're engrossing. And it reminds me of how important a role flight simulators have played in training of pilots. So this is the chemistry analog of flight simulator. In fact, it's quite engrossing. And I strongly believe that it is going to be of help to engage the Gen Z, or maybe something after Gen Z, the students that we have right now. Because they live their life on some screen or the other, right? Computer, mobile, something. So they like things that are delivered on mobile, and they sort of identify with it. So the way these spoken tutorials have been framed, I think it will help teachers to reach out to the students in a very, very efficient manner. So I request you to give this a serious touch, a serious try. Now, one day, hopefully this pandemic is going to be over and we're going to get back to these good old days. Is this going to be relevant at that time? I believe yes. Because I do not know teachers of which level are here. Science, not only chemistry, is an experimental subject, right? Unfortunately, the only experiments that our students get to do in school, by and large, are in 11 and 12. When I was a student, we had labs in 9, 10 as well in ICSE. I do not know if they're still there. Still are there. In CBSE, definitely it's not there up to class 10. So they actually get to go to the lab and get their fingers wet only in 11 and 12. And unfortunately, we have created a situation where even that doesn't happen many times. There are schools that just do not have these facilities also. But everybody has a mobile phone nowadays. Everybody has a network connection. Network connection in India is unbelievably good. That is one of the positive lessons that we have learned in this COVID period. And we'd better put it to good use at all levels. So even when we get back to the good old days, you have in class 9 and 10, great. But what about students who are in class 8 or in 7 or in underprivileged schools where they cannot even run labs? I mean, I myself have taught in a college where there was no electricity, no running water. I'm talking about 1997, 98. And my task was to set up a chemistry lab there, and no money as well. So what I had done is that I was still doing PhD, so I went around begging for chemicals Fortunately, I had good friends, so they gave me some. And that is how we somehow did it. So in all these places, actually, this kind of spoken tutorial can go a long way in giving the students a feel of what it is to do experiments. And they worked out beautifully. I mean, something as so in one of the tutorials, I saw that you have to pipette out a 20 ml solution. They used a 110 ml pipette twice. And there was a question, why are you not using a 20 ml pipette? And the answer is that generally you don't. In an actual lab, you do not have pipettes of all the sizes that you require. You are going to use maybe a 10 ml pipette if you need a 30 ml solution. You're going to use it 3 times. So all these nitty-gritty that students do not really get an idea of, they can learn to a great extent by using these tutorials. And I think this is a great thing, a great effort that has been put in, and it is heartening to note so many of you are interested in making good use of it. That being said, let me share the experience of teaching 1,400 students in our first year UG course that we have been doing over the last 1 year. I am one of the teachers in a course that is called CH107. There we teach basic physical chemistry, by and large, basic quantum chemistry. So let me share with you the experience of how we have done it and how we have been able to manage this daunting number. 1,400 is no joke, right? I do not have, have not been able to prepare slides for today because the notice came pretty late. So I'll just speak, hopefully that's okay. Now, what the first thing we did was that we employed a large number of instructors, large number of teachers. For 1,400 students, we have employed 8 teachers. Well, even then you might think, what is the ratio? 1,400 divided by 8, you do the math. That's still a large number. But then it is not really 1,400 divided by 8. It is 1,400 divided by 8 divided by 4. Because every teacher has engaged a set of students 4 times a week. So at any given time, a teacher engaged around 40-45 students. That is a very comfortable number. And the lesson that we learned in this online semester is that you don't really have to go down to those small numbers. The strength of online instruction is that you can handle larger numbers than you actually can in a regular classroom. In this meeting itself, we have 241, if you leave me out, we have 240 participants. If we did this in a classroom, some of you would have been in the front bench, some of you would have been in the back bench. And as teachers, we all know that it is easy to communicate with people sitting closer to us physically. It is not so easy to get the attention of backbenchers, especially when you teach a class of size 200 or 300 or larger. In peacetime, in our first year classes, we have about 350 in class. And it's very difficult to reach out to people in the backbench unless you are a teacher who's athletically gifted and you can pace up and down all the time while teaching at the same time. I cannot do it. The good thing about an online semester, as we understand, is that everybody is in the first bench. You, Mr. Ajay Sakhare, and you, Deepika said, madam, all of you are actually in the first row. We can pretend as if we are having a one-to-one interaction. That's point number 1. And point number 2 is this. Well, you and I are old people to different extents, but our students, Gen Z, are young. You and I are more comfortable with reading news from a paper, studying from a book, and taking notes on a notebook. Not this generation. They are more comfortable doing all these on electronic media, using a laptop, using a mobile, using a tab, right? So actually, what I see is that our students open up more in the online mode. And I saw this at the very beginning, last year, around this time, when we closed down, for a few weeks, we did conduct classes using video conferencing. And there I noticed students who would never speak in the actual class 2 weeks ago would happily write their comments in chat box. So sometimes people who don't want to speak in a gathering do open up in online mode. That is what we have learned. But coming back to our first year course. So this is how we have done it. And we have taught in the flipped classroom mode. What is the meaning of flipped classroom mode? That also I think most of us would know by now. What it means is that we give them video lectures. Typically, that course has 3 lectures and a tutorial per week. So we divided it in this way. We gave them video lectures of 2-hour duration every week. So we'd share the videos on Wednesday or Thursday the previous week, right? 2 hours of video. Next week, on Monday and Tuesday, depending on the timetable, each instructor would engage 45 students and have what we call interactive sessions. The purpose of the interactive session was to revise what has been already provided to them in the video lectures, to take their questions, and also to ask them questions. And I'll tell you how we did that. Other than that, each instructor had an office hour where anybody and everybody could join and ask whatever they wanted. There was 1 hour of tutorial conducted by our teaching assistants. So that is your 4 hours plus 1 hour of office hour. Other than this, we did 2 things. Every week, we had, after the tutorials, a mini quiz that they took from their home. We said it's an open book quiz. Because when people are taking a mini quiz, it is, I think, foolish to try to proctor them and try to ensure that there's no cheating. It is better to ask questions in such a way that it will not be easy for them to just consult each other and write the answer. So we asked questions that would sort of make them, that would sort of test whether they have understood things or not. So mini quiz with weightage of 2 marks. Another thing that we did was every week they had to submit an assignment. And the assignment was in 100 to 200 words, they were asked to write down what they have learned that week. And what they have learned that week turned out to be interesting in many cases. There was some student who actually submitted their assignment in poetry. I'll show you how. Maybe I'll just copy paste it in the chat box. So what we found very unexpectedly is that this assignment thingy, and we told them that you have to submit a PDF file, not handwritten file, and we are going to run it through something called some software which can check for plagiarism. So you're not allowed to copy. If you copy, then you get a 0. And we found that nobody copied, to be honest. And more or less, people were regular in submitting this, and that has prepared them very well. In fact, our experience is that this year, students have studied better than in a regular year. Perhaps because they're sitting home, they're not here in their hostels with their seniors spoiling them. Rather, they are under the watchful eyes of their parents and guardians. So they're still in our JEE mode. They're studying well. So I've shared with you 3 examples of poetry received from our students as assignment. So this is the kind of creativity one could trigger if one tries to be creative themselves. Right. So this is the overall structure. Now, while conducting the interactive session, the biggest challenge is students are not motivated to join it. Because what they feel is we have given them the videos already. What is new in the interactive sessions that we can offer? So to demonstrate that, let me just show you a little bit of a video, and then I'll show you what we do in the interactive session. And maybe we'll do one exercise here itself. Let me share my screen. So this is, fortunately, I had recorded a lecture series last year, and this lecture series is what we essentially gave them. So I'll show you maybe 1 minute of a particular lecture. Right. So this is an example of a lecture that we had shared with them. Let me show you the slides of the interactive session, one of the interactive sessions, not necessarily the one that would be for this week. Rigid rotor, hydrogen atom wave function, maybe no, this is module. Sorry for the slowness of my computer. It's grown a little old. Actually, I think we found the right interactive session anyway. So this is what we did in the interactive session that week. We rehashed it. What you see here is an executive summary of what has been discussed in those lectures. So these are small little things, and now we used something that students found to be very interesting. I'll come back to this, but I'll just run you through the presentation. So what we try to do is, this 2p orbital thing is something that students sometimes find difficult to understand. So we decided that we are going to discuss that part. So whatever questions that they, and in fact, we took questions from them throughout the week using our online platform that is called Moodle. So we knew what the doubts were, and we tried to frame it that way. And now the other thing that we used widely was Mentimeter. So you see, this is a question that they get. So I discuss a concept, and then to understand whether they have followed it or not, what I say is that I ask a question. And the way they answer the question is, unfortunately, this is not showing a, let me show you another question. Yeah, this is one. So we ask simple questions like this. What orbital is this? And to answer the question, they had to go to this website called menti.com and use this code. And what they liked better is that we gave them this QR code, which you get easily from this mentimeter.com. And they are required to scan this. And once they scan it, they go to that page and they can, what Mentimeter calls, they can vote. They can give their answers. And then I will show them what kind of answers we have received, what is the statistics. So let me show you that. This is Mentimeter. Go to mentimeter.com, you log in with your Google ID, Gmail ID, and these are some of the questions that we had asked throughout the course. We're talking about which orbital, so maybe that is what I'll show you. And I'll frame a question and I'll request you to answer just to give you the feel. So these are the different answers they have given. So here, to get the answers, I used what is called this text bubble way of answering. I'll show you what that is. And the font size depends on how many people have given that answer. So this is one way of showing them what their peers think the correct answer is. And then from there, you also get an idea of what the misconceptions are. And then one can discuss on those lines to clear those. So to set a Mentimeter question, this is what you have to do. Go to new presentation. And the presentation name, I can say spoken tutorials. And now we have to choose what kind of question we want. We can choose multiple choice or word cloud. Word not bubble, word cloud. Open-ended means they can write anything. Scales, ranking, Q&A. Mostly I've used multiple choice and word cloud. So let me choose multiple choice. And well, let us write this. Let me write some question. Which of these birds do we not see in Mumbai? And I can set the options: albatross, dodo, oriental magpie robin, which is sort of an anticlimax, and Marsh Harrier, let us say. Doesn't matter. And you could allow multiple correct answers also. We can say let participants choose multiple options. Okay, and I've allowed them to choose all four if they want. And you can see the output as bars or donut or pie or dots. Let me keep bars to keep things simple. All right. So this is done. To get that barcode, you have to click share. The moment you click share, you'll get this. This is a QR code which you can download, and that's what I did and put it in my presentation. So what I did is that I actually copied this into the presentation. If you want, you can just do it from this website. So to do that, you have to go to present. And now the question that we ask is, which of these birds do we not see in Mumbai? I've not shared the barcode with you, so my request to you is, can you please go to www.menti.com and use this code to vote 77, 80, 75. So just to get a feel of how a class sees it, can you please go to menti.com, use this code and click all the answers that you think are correct to the question, which of these birds do we not see in Mumbai? Can we do this, please? No answer so far. What I'm doing now is a demo of what we do in the interactive session. Thank you. The first answer has come. 3 answers have come. So what I do is right now I'm showing you the output, but to my class, I don't show it right away. I see it, but I don't share that screen. And I keep saying that, we have 45 people in the class, only 3 answers have come. What are the other guys doing? Come on, lazy bones. Let's see 45 responses. So here, let's see 240 responses. Come on, only 33 are there. Let us see those responses coming. Let's see those responses. And remember, more than one can be correct. In fact, in this case, more than one is correct. So let's see these answers coming. 45 only. We can do better than that. There are 240 of us here. Let the number go up to at least 100 for now. 49. That is still one less than even 100. Great. 51. Now let's make that 100. 56. No, you don't need to annotate. All right, 61. 61. Let's keep the responses coming quick. Only when we are done, we can move on to the next thing. So let's get this done quickly. Okay, I think that's enough of a demonstration. This is what we did to keep our students engaged, and they actually loved it. At the end, we showed them the answers, and we discussed like this, saying that, see, albatross is actually not found in Mumbai, you're right. Dodo is extinct, so most of you are right. Now, some of you think Oriental magpie robin is not there in Mumbai. That is not correct. Even in our campus of IIT Bombay, we have more Oriental magpie robins than sparrows. Marsh Harrier is actually there in IIT Bombay. So very few of you think that it is not here in Mumbai, but the number may not be large, but you do get to say Marsh Harriers, especially near the water bodies. So this is one way in which we keep the students engaged. I thought I'd just share that with you because this has been the biggest hit, to be honest, in the way we have done this. Yeah, I think a single person can do it multiple times because I allowed it. I could have stopped it. Oh, Indrani is here. I see we have people in the audience who know much more than pedagogy than I do. Indrani is, Darshan is one of them actually. Okay, great. So this is how you see, so even a grown-up people like us, tell me, did you not like it? I'm sure you did. It's like a game. There is a child in all of us. And the challenge, I think, of the online semester is to reach out to the child and engage them. If we can do that, then actually the online teaching can be very, very effective. Let me tell you what has happened. We have conducted a quiz in IIT Bombay. A quiz just means a small exam. It does not mean your Bonvita quiz contest kind of quiz. We conducted that quiz. And there, out of 1400, almost 100 scored full marks. So students are actually doing well. And not because the quiz was easy, but it was not easy. It was challenging, and we can do it. We can put time limit, but the way I put time limit is that I just stop after a while. I keep on going them, and when I get the required number of responses, I just stop. Now, one thing that you should not do using Mentimeter perhaps is, you cannot do, is actual exam, because the responses are all anonymous. You don't know who has said who. So if you want to mark them, that is not going to work very well. So for marking, we have used two things. One is your Moodle. Moodle is the software that we use to disseminate information and also to conduct quizzes now. And that turned out to be very, very good. The problem with Moodle that we found is that it crashes if you have more than 500 or so students. So for our class of 1400, nothing else works. So for that, we have used something that has been developed in IIT Bombay. I'll share again. Let me see if I can find it. Something called Safe App. Our colleague from computer science, Bhaskaran, has developed this. Let me see if I can find it. Safe App, IIT Bombay. Here you go. Actually, there's something else with a very similar name. It's called SEB, Safe Examination. I've forgotten what B is. So don't be scared by these messages saying safe is not unsafe. So safe is something that allows you to build a smart classroom. These are the different features that are there. You can take attendance. You can ask questions. And you can actually have very good analysis. Per candidate, per question, marks can be downloaded. Many times, there are issues in questions that we don't see. So you can change questions, you can change marking schemes. So this corrective action is possible. So, and you can ask whatever kind of questions that you want. You can actually type math equations, but what we have found is that it is easier to type using Microsoft Word or LaTeX or whatever you want to use, and then export as a picture, image file, and put it in. It's very easily done. And also, it is not necessary that the question has to be objective in nature, because you might as well ask the students to write answers, scan and upload using the same platform. But then you might be wondering, why is it necessary to use this platform? Well, one of the things that it does is that it takes care to a very large extent the biggest problem that we have in online evaluation, and that is cheating. SAFE has to be accessed using a mobile phone. And the moment I access SAFE on mobile phone, I cannot do anything else on that mobile. If I go out and try to access some other window, automatically a warning is generated and it gets registered. So the students are told, do not go anywhere else. So typically, to conduct the exams, we are using a two-device system, where a mobile phone, which is enabled with SAFE, I can now stop sharing, I guess. A mobile phone with SAFE is used for delivery of question paper. What did you want me to repeat? Somebody wanted me to repeat something. Can you please repeat what you wanted me to repeat? Yes, SAFE is a freeware. Our computer science people in our institute are those who do not believe in market economy. So whatever they do, usually by and large, not usually, by and large, is actually freeware, and it's available for free download. So if you want to try out SAFE for your school or your college, please search for SAFE IITB, SAFE. So it's very easy to remember, SAFE. Search for SAFE IITB, go to their website. It is available for download on Mac as well as Windows devices. It's there on Google Play. It is there on App Store. Download and use it. But just a caveat, we have noticed that SAFE does not work all that well on Apple devices. So if your students are going to use SAFE, then it is better that they have an Android phone. Okay, now coming back to what I was saying. So the SAFE enabled mobile phone is used for question paper delivery and well, answer paper delivery as well. And you need another device, a mobile phone or a laptop for proctoring. Now for proctoring, what our institute recommended was something called Code Tantra. I'll just write it in the chat box. And Code Tantra has been successful in many courses. Unfortunately, it was not successful in our class because our number is too daunting, 1,400, too large a number. So, I mean, the code breaks down and Tantra doesn't work for classes of that size. That is what we realized. So when you handle numbers like that, you have no choice but to resort to what the big boys provide, your Microsoft or Google. Again, the problem with Google is that it cannot handle more than 100. So what we are using is, for proctoring, we are using Microsoft Teams. And maybe I can share that and show you as well. So what we did is, we created, remember the number, 1400. And for proctoring, well, proctoring is just another word for invigilating. What we found is, one invigilator cannot take care of more than 10 examinees, because you cannot just see them. So if you do the math, 1,400 divided by 10 is 140. So we actually engaged 140 invigilators. In our case, there were postdoctoral fellows, staff members, and PhD students who are teaching assistants. And for every team, so every proctor had to look after, I think, 12 examinees. And for every 12 proctors, we employed what we called a super proctor. Well, this super proctor, these terms have come from Code Tantra, but we have unceremoniously ditched Code Tantra and moved over to Microsoft Teams for proctoring. So every super proctor has his or her own team. So you can see these names that you see, Kaminder Sharma, Shobna Kapoor, they are our colleagues. And this is the team for every super proctor. And I and another person, Professor Sandeep Kar, we were the, what we like to call, supreme proctors. So we have access to all the tools. We can go anywhere, and if there's a problem, we can just get in and try to fix. So let me show you Amber Jain's team. So what you see on the left-hand side, these are private channels. And these private channels we had made in the names of the proctors. So a student who is there in this private channel of Aarti can only see that private channel and nowhere else. The student has no room for confusion. Aarti herself can see Amber Jain's team and her own channel, nothing else. So that way, proctors have no room to get confused, examinees have no room to get confused, and super proctors and people who are overall in charge, they have access to everything. Now, we have not recorded anything, so I cannot show you, but roughly the way it is done is that you go somewhere, go to your channel, and you start a meet. When you start a meet and people join, you can actually see them. And we had told the proctors that students have to sit in such a way that you can see both their hands at all times. And the let us not try put too much of strain on my bandwidth and close this. And we said that you cannot, you make sure that the computer that is being used never goes out of your sight, never goes out of field of view. So that is one way in which we tried to ensure that there is no cheating. Proctors were actually asked to record their screens, and they did. So in case of any doubt anywhere, we could go back and we could see what was going on. I did not share a code for Safe App actually, I'm sorry. So for Safe App, if you want Safe App, you go to type Safe IIT Bombay, I'll write here. Please do a Google search and you'll go there. Okay, just write this. So this is how we have conducted our first year course for as many as 1,400 students. Not an easy task at all, in fact, quite daunting. But then, if you're going to do this from the privacy and safety of your own home or own office, sipping the tea of your choice, you have to pay some price for it, right? But let me tell you, it does require a lot of work. Logistics is something that kept us busy for most of the time throughout the course. If you don't do it right, then it is going to be really very boring. And some more tips. During the interactive sessions, I kept on requesting the students to keep their videos on. They don't want to do it. But it is better if they do. Because then I can see the expressions and it is closer to an actual class. Even before that, interactive session must be complementary to the pre-recorded videos that they already have. If we just repeat what is there in the videos, then nobody will come to the interactive session. There has to be something extra. And to do that, well, we used Moodle, where in Moodle, there is something called hot questions. They were asked to write down the questions as they come, and we started from there. What happens in interactive sessions is that if you go there and ask the students, oh, so, okay, we are here, tell us what your doubts are, nobody is going to speak. You have to get them started. And to get them started, our recipe is 10 minutes of recap. Well, longer recap perhaps, but try to discuss questions that they have written down first. And this Mentimeter has turned out to be the biggest tool that we could use. There's another website called Kahoot. I'm not very sure about the spelling, whether it is CAHOOT or KAHOOT. Please find out yourselves. So different online platforms are available free of charge, and we can put them to good use. Yeah, capital K, Kahoot, right. So this is how we have to do things a little differently if you want to make the most of online teaching. So this is what I wanted to share with you, but the sharing is two-way. I'll be more than happy if you could now share your experiences, and if you have any question, I'll be more than happy to take them. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Anindya. That was very interesting talk. And then I hope all the participants have benefited a lot. You gave so many tips for using Safe App and other programs which you are already using. So participants, if you have any questions, you please ask Professor Datta. He'll be very happy to answer you.
All right. Somebody has asked a question in chat room. Rakesh. Yeah. Rakesh Bharadwaj has asked, how to prevent cheating in online tests? My answer to that starts from saying there is no system in this world that is foolproof. But what we have understood in this last 1.5 semesters is that one can do a good job of getting as close to the physical proctoring as possible if you use a two-device system, where one device is used to write the answers, and that would better use something like SAFE. It is not enough to use Google Form, because it's very easy for me to use the same device. If I'm going to use a Google Form, it's very easy for me to switch to some other one and maybe do a Google search and find the answer, or use WhatsApp to get answer from my friend. So something like Safe App is required for writing the exam, and you need another device to actually see what the candidate is doing, and you have to ensure that the candidate sits in a way where you can see their hands, where the phone doesn't go out of their view. That is the best we can do, in my opinion. Self app is available across the world, so you can download it from any part of the world.
So I would like to also add, Anindya, because yes. My experience is quite different. Students cheat in a big way. We must be able to, in fact, this semester, what we are saying in our department is, if the student is not able to keep the hands and face in the view of the camera, we will refuse to grade that paper.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the student may actually have genuine difficulty. For example, the table may be very small. He doesn't have a place to keep his hand. Extending that logic, a student may have difficulty in having a computer. Can he take online test? So we have to assume some minimum resources. Okay. So if the student says that I cannot keep the hand inside the focus of the camera, then that person could be cheating. In fact, we saw many students cheating, right? So that is absolute mandate. I mean, you say that if I see you removing the face for even 10 seconds, why? Because this fellow may be talking, okay, and you want to capture that, and you have to have the audio on. And of course, one can ask, what do we do if that is not enforceable? For whatever reason, face cannot be shown, hands cannot be shown, then you say that it doesn't make sense to give letter grades. A, B, C. You don't do that. You say exposure, not exposed. Okay, not even pass fail. That person has attended, finished. Leave it there. Okay. So there are some limitations, and of course we are slowly learning the nuances, because whatever you do, the students are one generation next to us, at least one generation, they are going to be a lot smarter than us. So you have to keep that in mind.
Well, there are YouTube videos on how to cheat in an online exam.
Yeah.
And they are very impressive. I've seen those.
Yeah, yeah.
Those videos are also very informative. Achha, so for Code Tantra, what I suggest is please go to their website. They have illustrative tutorials, and the Code Tantra team is always more than willing to interact with teachers who would potentially use them. What I found is that Code Tantra is actually very powerful. The only problem we had is that for a class of our size, it didn't work very well. But for smaller class sizes, Code Tantra has one advantage over this MS Teams and all. Two advantages. One is that you see, say, 10 students, you can unmute yourself for one of them selectively and have a one-to-one chat if required. That is a very big advantage without disturbing others. And you can keep your audio on while keeping your mic off for everybody, so you could actually hear what is going on. Because in an online exam, we don't know what is happening behind the computer screen, right? So somebody could be standing there and dictating the answer to the student. So if that is the case, then you want to hear, but then you cannot do it in anything else other than Code Tantra, as far as I know, because then that sound would go to all examinees and disturb them. So that is one big advantage of Code Tantra. The third thing is that this recording in Code Tantra is automatic. Once it is done, you don't have to bother about it separately. So for a smaller class sizes, well, class with 50 students, I'm sure Code Tantra is a very good solution. Another very important thing is keeping to time. Well, not only in online semester, you see Kannan cut his talk short and came because it was that time got over. It is very important that we don't exceed time in an online semester, because there is something called screen fatigue. You cannot really keep the students engaged for more period than what is stipulated. And the videos that we give them, if you give them pre-recorded videos, it is best to give them maybe 15-minute videos. Definitely nothing longer than 25 minutes, because they'll not have the attention span. Code Tantra, I think you have to buy. You have to talk to them, but it is very cheap. So Mahesh Chavan has asked, as said by you, we are not allowed to shift to different application in mobile. So can someone use an application in background which allows to share screen to another person? This may be a loophole. See, I mean, many things can be done, but if you can, I mean, if somebody has a big camera behind the screen of that proctoring computer and a big screen behind that, I mean, with that kind of an elaborate arrangement, it is very difficult to beat. But this is the best we can do given the circumstances. But that being said, now it is almost 11:10. I think we should keep to time. So perhaps it's best to close the session and move on to the next. I'll type my email ID here. If you want to conduct further discussion, you are more than welcome to contact me, and we'll be very happy to discuss.
Thank you, Professor Datta. Thanks for coming. And then I think the participants have benefited. Thank you so much for your very, very nice talk here. Thank you.